Hey, what's up guys? So, what we're going to be doing in this video is showing you guys how to grow your own wheatgrass and also how to grow it indoors. As you can see, we got some pretty good wheatgrass going here. Some nice healthy flats. Now, one of the things I want to mention before we get into this is why it would be so beneficial to grow wheatgrass, especially now. Well, wheatgrass has amazing benefits. It has plenty of vitamins and minerals and chlorophyll in it, which is kind of like a light energy substance. You can drink it and bathe in it. It'll absorb into your skin and into your bones. Yeah, it's really good for detoxing. It's good for men as well for testosterone. And basically the limits are just endless, but especially here with what's going on with COVID and everything, it also helps to repair DNA. It has phosphorus in it, which is one of the components for DNA. So it's really good for your blood. It's pretty much good for your body all around. So I would highly recommend growing this, starting to grow your own wheatgrass and juicing in it, juicing with it, drinking it, and even bathing in it if you really wanted to. For me, I have a bone injury. When I bathe in wheatgrass, it actually takes all the pain away, and it goes away for a while. So that's one of the reasons. It's good for a lot of things. Good for your skin as well. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do, set up right here, is take one of these containers, something like this. And you're going to want to measure out 2 cups of seeds. Now, I measure barely below the 2 cup point because I don't like the wheatgrass to get too thick because then it could start growing mold. Now, that's one of the things we're going to be working on in this video as well, to show you how to grow wheatgrass without mold. And most of that's going to be the temperature. In this particular setup that I have, it's interesting because in my apartment there's wires in the wall, and it kind of turns this apartment into a sauna, which produces a lot of mold. So I have to actually keep air on the wheatgrass and circulate it. Most of you won't have to do that, but kind of keep that in mind, that you're going to want to control the temperature and the humidity of wherever you're growing wheatgrass, and you want to have some air circulation as well. Okay, so that's going to help you with mold. So the first thing that we're going to do here, like I said, measure out your 2 cups and then just dump them in this plastic container. Now, I used to use a glass container to sprout wheatgrass. Here, I'll show you what they look like. I used one of these to sprout my wheatgrass. Okay, just a mason jar, and I noticed what happened is the wheatgrass, the seeds got too moist, and again it started creating mold. So you can use any container. I just highly recommend that you make it a plastic one because it's more porous and it seems to work better with sprouting. So what you want to do, I hope you can see this all right. Yeah, fill this up with water. You're going to want to rinse this off. Shake it up. Be careful not to spill it. Okay. Once they're rinsed off, you want to fill it up one last time. Okay, pretty decent fill there. And you want to put them in the fridge. Now you don't have to do this, but again, this is a mold preventive video. So you just want to toss these in the fridge here for 6 to 8 hours. Just like that. And set your timer. You said 6 to 8 hours, and then when you come back, you're going to want to drain all the water out of that. And we'll move on to that next step in a second here. Once 6 to 8 hours has gone by, we'll continue this video. So that's going to be your first step, and go ahead and get your wheatgrass soaking. Or maybe just wait till the end of the video. It's up to you. Probably watch the whole video first before you start the process, and maybe rewatch it. Okay, so we'll be moving on to the next step in 8 hours. Okay, so it's been 6 hours. So what we're going to do, just go ahead and take these seeds out. And we're just going to rinse them out. Once these are rinsed out, we're just going to set these aside. And just let these start sprouting. And what I kind of do here is leave a little space. We don't want to let this get too dry, but we don't want to get too humid either. Because, again, we're really working with mold on this. We don't want any mold. So we're just going to, what we'll do is we'll just set this aside, leave a little space in there, and give it probably a good 8 hours. So you can go to sleep and rinse it off in the morning, or go to work and come back. But you probably have a good 8 to 10 hours before you want to get this moist again. And what you'll want to do is, in 8 to 10 hours when it's starting to sprout, just pour more water over it and rinse it off again. And you'll probably do this like 3 times, maybe 4 at the very most. So it'll be about 2-3 days at the most before these are sprouted. So what we're going to go ahead and do is give this another about 8 to 10 hours or so, and we're going to pour more water in it and rinse it back out and let it sprout up a little bit more. And we'll repeat that process, and this should be ready to go in a couple of days. Okay, so it's been about 10 hours-ish, and we're going to need to get these seeds wet again. They're dry, almost all the way dry, and they're starting to sprout a little bit, but they still need another day or two, a couple of days probably. So let's go ahead. Rinse these out. Make sure to use cold water. Controlling the temperature again is just important about this. Make sure to shake them up pretty good. You want all these to sprout evenly instead of just the ones on the bottom. So every time you re-moisten them, get them wet again, make sure to shake them up and make sure that they're evenly distributed. Kind of even that out. Just set it aside again and wait about another 10 to 12 hours or something like that. Alright, just let that sit again. Now, another thing that we need to do, and I'm going to show you guys really quick, is now that these paper towels, this will be later on in the process, but I'm going to kind of go through things here as we go along with this. After these seeds are done and sprouted, you're going to plant these in soil and put these paper towels on top of them, and these paper towels get dry. So you need to moisten the paper towels. Now another thing we do, we have our other sprouts, our other wheatgrass here that we need to water. So I'm going to give you an example of that to kind of get that in your head. So what we want to do, take our flat, once these paper towels are dry. I made a little mister, and you guys, what you could do is use a strainer, like one of these. Okay, if you don't want to make a mister, watch one of my videos, and I'll show you how to make a mister on how to make these mister sets. But you can also use these spray bottles to water your wheatgrass, and these. And we'll get in, probably making a little more video about, get into a little more detail about that later. Okay, so I'm just going to wet these paper towels down. And this is kind of what you're going to want to do when your wheatgrass is sprouted and planted. Keep the paper towels moist until it comes up. Okay, as you can see, you got this paper towel nice and wet, those paper towels nice and wet. I'm just going to keep going through the process through this until we're all the way through it, but these are starting to sprout. Oh, a little bit here. And we're just going to let this sit for a few days. And it'll be all sprouted. Okay, so that's kind of it, and kind of keep that in mind too as we go along. That's kind of the process, and that's kind of why I jumped ahead a little bit. Because as we go along, as you're growing these, you're going to want to keep these paper towels wet and keep these seeds moist and keep watering. You want to water your wheatgrass, I'd say about once a day, lightly. Okay, and keep air on it. Keep a little air on it to make sure it doesn't get mold. Alright, so that's it. Go ahead and rinse off your seeds once they get dry. And just let them sit for a bit, another 12 hours, and be patient. Okay, so our seeds have dried out, and they're ready to water again. So as you can see, they're starting to sprout a little. There's little sprouts in here. So I think what will happen is one last time should do it. You got little sprouts in here, but not quite there. So we're just gonna put one last thing of water on them. Call it good. You want to shake this out really, really good. Get these seeds mixed together really well, because the ones at the bottom are going to sprout a little faster, so you want them to sprout evenly so you don't have little gaps in your grass so it grows right. And that should do it for those. I'd say give it, I don't know, 10, 15 more hours and it'll probably be done. So maybe a day at the most, and those will be ready to sprout. And we'll go ahead and plant those. Now another thing too is that this other one we have going here, I'm going to show you this real quick. And this isn't the only example. We're going to show you how looks when it's done. But notice this one now has started to sprout up to the point where it's kind of pushing these paper towels up. Alright. This is looking pretty good and pretty sprouted. Normally I'd let it sprout a little bit more. Or not sprout, but grow, excuse me. Grow a little bit more. But I think we're going to be okay with this one. So what I'm going to do, see, that's growing pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, since that's looking pretty good, set it here and call that one good, and let this one start growing. I'm going to take it out of this container. Now that it's ready to go, you're also going to want to water it. And I'm going to water the rest of these as well while I'm at it. They need to be watered today as well. Now I'm going to water this one pretty good. And now that this one's just barely growing, I want it watered down really well. And when you water them like this, again, you might want to consider putting some air on them. Again, the main thing with wheatgrass is controlling the environment and making sure it's in a nice, cool environment. There you have it. But things are looking pretty good. We got some wheatgrass growing. There's our flat from yesterday. You can see, this is just from a day ago. And you can see how fast wheatgrass tends to grow. So that's looking pretty good. Probably just going to juice that tomorrow, and that'll be plenty enough. That half a flat right there. It's going to be plenty enough to drink and also to bathe with. And to work on getting the bones feeling better in the skin and stuff. Okay, so that's that. Everything's looking pretty good. And we're just going to give this thing, these seeds right here, I'd say about a day, a little less than a day. And those will be ready to sprout. Or those are going to be fully sprouted and ready to plant. Okay, so let's give it about a day. Okay, so finally our seeds have sprouted and they're ready to plant. So here's what they're looking like, and you want them to have a nice little sprout on them, so they look like they have little hairs growing out on one end of them. Okay, and what you're going to want to do, a lot of times they'll get stuck together and start to grow together, so just kind of shake it apart. Okay, in here. And they're going to be ready to plant. Now the next thing that we're going to need is soil. And the soil we're going to be using is this minute soil right here. You want to get a good view. This is really good soil. This is perfect for wheatgrass. And basically the way that works is you carve parts of that soil, you chip part of it off with a knife, and you get it wet with water and it expands. And it's really, really good soil. So I'd highly recommend getting this, but you can also, if you want, just use even a basic potting mix like this right here. Okay? And it's the same thing, but this is the soil I recommend. I grow other things with that potting mix, but this is mainly what I grow wheatgrass with. But you can use potting soil as well to grow wheatgrass. Okay. So what we're going to want to do, let me show you how this works. Put this aside. And I already have one of these that I've already been carving off of. This guy right here. So, make sure you get a good angle there. What we're going to do, okay, is make sure you have a giant bowl or a big container like this, and we're going to take some of this and put it in there. Now, this stuff was kind of a pain in the butt to deal with at first. I was trying to carve into it, the top. So what I noticed is if you just kind of carve into the side, stab into it a little, and then lift it up. Okay, you can kind of want to crush this and break that up a little bit and then put it in your bowl. Again, it's not going to take a lot of this stuff. Right? Again, don't cut yourself. You're not responsible for it. Be very careful when you do this. Okay, you can use a screwdriver or something probably too. But it's kind of difficult a little bit, but you'll get used to shaving this stuff off. And once you do, you're going to want to get it wet. Okay? So now that we have just a little bit of this in the bowl, it'll take a little more than that, but I have some other stuff that I've set aside. But for this demonstration, you're going to want a little bit more than that. And what you're going to want to do is just put a little water in it. So I'm just going to take it to the sink. Okay, and get this wet enough. Not too wet, but wet enough. It gets pretty dry, so it takes a pretty decent amount of water. So I'm going to get this wet enough and just start breaking this up. You can see this all right. Okay, and start breaking this up until this is all broken up and moist. Okay. Don't use too much water, but just the right amount. Again, it does take a decent amount of water, so all this is really dry and really compacted. So get a decent amount of water in there. Just don't soak it too much. Okay. Get in here really good and get all the little chunks in here. And you want this really smooth, so this grass goes really smooth. You don't want to have any chunks. But don't be afraid to take your time with this part. And once this is broken up really good, okay, this is getting really smooth now. I'm not feeling any chunks in this at all. Okay, once you've gotten all those taken care of, your soil's ready to go. Alright, and the next thing that you're going to need, make sure you're clean all this. Okay. The next thing you're going to need then is there's two containers. One of them, you're going to want one without holes in it. Now, this is the one you're going to need to grow the wheatgrass. And as you can see, it has little notches in here, little holes in it. These are the ones that you're going to want to order. Order like 10 of these. Okay. Get them on Amazon or True Leaf Market. You get these all over the place. So order like 10 of these. But what you're going to want to do also is order like 2 or 3 of these. Maybe a 5-pack. You can get the black ones as well. I got these tan ones because they're a little more durable. But they were a little more money. So you can get the other ones without holes that look like this. But what you're basically going to want to do is take one of these without the holes, and this one that does have them. Make sure you can see nice and close there. See how they have these holes in them? All in the bottom of them. Okay, take one of these with the holes. Put it in one of these that doesn't have the holes. Alright? Now this isn't necessary per se. This is just how I like to do it, because some the soil goes through the bottom. I'm actually going to take this out when it's done sprouting. Okay, but what you want to do now is take the one with the holes, put it in one without. Alright, and then just dump your soil. And you want to spread this soil out evenly. Oh, that actually might have been the perfect amount of soil. Yeah, we're going to stick with that. I had a little bit of extra soil I was going to use, but again, this stuff expands so well that actually, I can't believe that worked out so perfectly. So to use that exact amount that we just showed you in this video that you just saw, that's actually just worked out absolutely perfectly. Now what you want to do, you don't want too much soil. You don't really need too much soil. Okay, is just enough to kind of cover the bottom of the tray, maybe half, quarter inch or something, maybe something like that. So basically, not basically, you want it to look exactly like this. Oops, sorry. Exactly like this. Okay? Not too much soil, not too little. Let's see if we can get him better here. Okay? Just like this. Not too much, not too little. That actually worked out absolutely perfectly. Now, what I'm going to do, because that soil is still a little bit dry, just a little bit. What I'm going to do is take our little misting system here. Okay, and I'm going to get this just a little bit. Again, don't go crazy with water, but I want to get this just a little bit more wet, a little more moist. So I'm just going to spray this down a little bit more. Just to make sure this is damp. Damp's a good word, I guess. Moist, a little moist. More than damp, I guess. But just enough to make sure that these seeds are going to take well. Okay? Now, we're ready to plant these seeds. Okay, so let's look at that again. Okay, that soil's now looking really good. Okay, it's got just the right amount of water, perfect moisture, perfect depth. Again, too much soil. Again, this is an anti-mold video because people have a lot of problems with mold, wheatgrass. So again, not too moist, but just right. And you guys are all gonna get this down perfectly too. You'll figure this out. It's really simple. So now that we've done that and our seeds are nice and sprouted, make sure we can see these seeds, what they look like when they're sprouted. Okay. Now they're sprouted, we want to put these seeds in our bean. Now I probably could have sprouted these a little bit longer, but they're going to sprout okay. If they sprout out a little bit more than that, but you want them at least to this point that I just showed you. But it'll be fine. I'm sure they'll grow just fine. Okay, and then you want to even these out. So you're not seeing any dirt, really. You You want to cover up all the dirt so all you're seeing is seeds. And then make sure that this looks good. We'll give you okay. And this is what you're going to want these to look like once it's done. Okay, you want those nice and even. That looks really good. That's going to grow very evenly. So again, I think what I'm going to do, since these seeds they got a little bit dry, like I said, they'll be okay. But I'm just going to mist these off a little bit, just to make sure that they attach to the soil. You know. And again, these misters really come in handy. This is why I highly recommend them, because again, with dealing with mold and stuff like that, if you're using the faucet and stuff, I mean, you want to use spray bottles if you don't have a misting system, but again, not too much water. But this misting system works beautifully, because I can just spray the top of these, right, and just kind of make sure that they set in the soil properly. Okay, so I'm just going to mist that off lightly. And that's going to help with these seeds and planting and sitting in the soil. Now, if you have a really dry environment, I'm just going to get it out of there. The paper towels in this next step. Okay, so now that this is all taken care of and this is ready to go, our next and last step, almost our last step, our next step is going to be to take these paper towels. Now, these are a little bit thicker paper towels, so we're going to use 2 layers. If they're thin paper towels, you might want to use 3. But these are pretty thick paper towels, and we're just going to want to take these paper towels and put 2 layers, and make 2 layers to set on top of these seeds. I'm going to cut that off. Okay, and now we have these paper towels that we need these because what they're going to do is keep the seeds moist. Okay, so get these on there evenly and make sure they're completely covered up, even as you can. And the next thing we want to do is wet these paper towels. Now what I was going to say, and to do that I like to mist it again. This is why I love my mister. Because it makes this whole process a lot easier. Okay. So we're going to mist these paper towels down now. Now what I was saying earlier is that you can at this point just take this out with the holes in and just pour water through it, and even if it drips down the bottom, put some fan on it and that should bring it up. But again, this is a mold preventative video. So if you can use a mister, do use a mister, and again, that's why I misted these seeds, made sure the soil is perfect, and misted the seeds down into that soil, and then put that paper towel on top of it. So now what we want to do is mist this paper towel, but what you can do, and if you're in the right environment, it's a little more humid in this house than my apartment, which is why I do it like this. I've had trouble with mold. I've grown this stuff everywhere, and even in Maryland in places where it was sticky. And I had less mold because of the way the wires in the apartment. So anyway, just keep that in mind. It's all about environment. So I'm going to mist this down, get these paper towels, and I want to get them nice and wet because you want them to soak all the way through. Okay, you really want to keep these seeds moist, this paper towel moist, excuse me, while this is sprouting, all these seeds are sprouting. So make sure to get this really good. Get those paper towels wet, make sure they soak all the way through. That's looking really good. I think there's plenty of water. Let's take a look here. Okay, that is now ready to grow. Okay. That's how you want it. The paper towel is nice and moist. Now that's the system. That's the whole process of getting these to sprout and then planting it. And from here on out, all you're going to have to do is keep those paper towels moist until finally that grass is going to lift up that paper towel. It's going to sprout enough, and it's going to lift that paper towel up. And when that paper towel is lifted up, the grass has lifted that paper towel off of itself, off of off of that container. So it's above it. Then you're ready to just put it under light, and it's ready to grow like the rest of these ones are. Okay. All right, so hang tight. We're just going to hang tight here and let this grow, let this sprout. And I'd give it about, I don't know, about, depending if you, I have to turn my fan on in here, so it's going to dry these paper towels out a little faster. So I got to change these, I got to re-moisten them like every 10 hours maybe, about 10 hours. But if you're not having a fan and you don't, like I said, it's really humid in here. If you have a less humid environment, probably 15, but 10 to 15 or something. But keep an eye on these paper towels, and when they start to dry, just re-moisten them again, but not too much, just enough to keep the paper towels moistened. Okay, and then when these sprout, then you're going to water them again. But right now, just keep an eye on the paper towels and keep those paper towels wet so that these seeds don't dry out and they can grow properly. All right, so keep watching the video, and we're going to come back to this in about 8 to 10 hours or something. Okay, actually there was something important I was going to tell you guys before these sprout. So sometimes I forget this, and I shouldn't, because the second, now I'm one person and I'm doing this detox for one person. Now I'm trying to grow enough wheatgrass here so I can drink it and bathe in it, because I have a problem with my ankles and stuff. And this is one of the main reasons that I'm doing this. So that I have plenty of wheatgrass, because I need to drink it and bathe in it, because I broke my ankles and now I have a bone thing. So it needs to soak into my bones and help heal my bones. It's good for your skin and all that too. But in order to keep a consistent amount of wheatgrass, for one person, since I drink about a half a flat of wheatgrass a day, well, I drink a quarter of a flat and then I put the rest of it in the bathtub. So I go through about a half a flat of wheatgrass every day. Now, in order to keep up with that amount of wheatgrass, every time that you start a tray like this, the second you get to this spot and you have your paper towels on here and it's moist, set this aside, okay, and start a new process, okay, and start your new seeds. So when this is, you're ready to grow one, when the paper towels are on, take your other container, take another container, and start the process over and start on another flat. So do exactly what we did before, what we started this video with. When you get to this point, put 2 more cups in here, okay, and start another one. Kind of make that your habit to get another one of these going. In fact, I'll do it on the video to kind of, maybe that'll help sink that in a little, because you want to stay consistent with this. And if you're forgetting to get new flats going, which I do kind of a lot, you're going to miss a day of wheatgrass, and you don't want that. You want to stay consistent, and you want to keep healing with wheatgrass. You want to keep it coming in until it's got all your bones better and everything, and your organs and your detox and all that. So start another one, and again, just rinse it out really well 2 cups, a little bit under. Like I said, we want to get a little air in there. We don't want to be too thick. Shake that up really well. Okay, once that's strained out, again, fill it up again. And just put that back in the fridge. Alright, now we got this back in the fridge. Set your timer for another 6 to 8 hours. I set mine for 6 and that's been doing really well. Okay, so just remember that part when doing this process. Whenever you get to this point, okay, where you got your paper towels on and you're sprouting a new one, or you're growing a new one and it's ready to grow and you got it in the dirt and the paper towels are on it, make sure to start another batch. And that way you're always going to be consistent. That way you can go through a half a thing of wheatgrass a day. See, as you can see, that one's already half cut. It's kind of how I do it. So, and also make sure to watch the video on juicing wheatgrass as well, so I can kind of instruct you on the appropriate amounts, would probably be good. What I'm doing at least. Okay, so that's it. We're going to let this sit. Okay, and again, make sure to keep those paper towels moist, and also start another batch when you get to this level, when you get to this point. Okay, so let's hang tight and wait for this to sprout up. Wait for this to grow a little bit. Okay, so it's been about 10 hours. And we're just going to go ahead and re-moisten all this. These seeds are now dry. These new ones we got going, and this paper towel is near dry. So what we're going to do here, just as usual, get these paper towels wet. Okay, so it's nice and wet. Okay, nice and moist. Paper towel's a little wet, and now these are completely dry. So what we want to do is, again, get them sprouted. Okay, so we're moving along here. Been another day. And our seeds are ready to sprout, or they're sprouted and ready to plant, excuse me. And these paper towels are really dry though, so we're going to get them wet. Now as you can see, this is actually coming along pretty well. Let's see if I can... Should we get a angle? This is pretty much grown up. Hope we can see that. There we go. This is pretty much done. But what I want to do is let this sprout for just one more day, probably 8 hours even, not even a full day. So I'm gonna wet this paper towel one more time. Now another thing I like to do, I kind of want to show you guys, is I take a pair of tweezers, little pair of tweezers, and I look for some of these seeds. They get too moist and they can start to mold. So there's not really too many in here, but kind of look for them. And here's one I can kind of show you. I'm just kind of show you what one of these moldy seeds is gonna look like. Say like that when they get moldy. Okay, you kind of want to pick those out and get rid of those if you can find any. Might not be able to find any, but that's generally what I do. Is I take a couple minutes and look for those. Again, since this is the no mold video, that's what we're gonna want to do. So anyway, keep that in mind, and kind of look for those ones that can potentially cause you problems. Okay, so I'm again gonna let this sprout for one more day. Okay, so now we got that. That's nice and wet again. And that's almost done. We're going to set that aside. So by the time that dries again, that's going to be nice and ready. And it should just lift that paper towel right off the grass. It should just grow the paper towel right off of it. Now, we also got to plant these seeds as well because they're sprouted. Now, as you can see here on the top, they don't look quite that sprouted, but on the bottom they're sprouting because the moisture kind of came down to the bottom. So what we do here is just shake this up and break all this apart evenly. That way we plant all these evenly. Alright, and that looks a lot better. Okay, so now you can see there's only the ones at the top that weren't that sprouted, but if you see now, after you shake it up, all of these are very sprouted. They're just right. So we're going to go ahead and plant these. And I've already got our little tray set up. Again, this looks nice. It's kind of how you want it to look. Exactly how you want it to look. Now first, I wanted to also show you, this is what these other trays look like without holes in them though. Okay, because you remember how these other ones, the ones we're planting these actual soil in and the seeds in, putting the soil in and have the seeds in, have these holes right here. See those little slots, those little holes? Okay. So you can get both kinds of these. Excuse me. Ones with and without holes. And one of the things that these are good for is not only for just like catching the soil and not only for catching the soil for when you're putting the soil in ones with holes so it doesn't make a mess, but when you're done, just kind of lightly stick it in there and kind of tap that soil down a little, just a tiny bit. That'll just kind of help even that out. So just a little pointer there. So what we're going to do now is just go ahead and plant this and get paper towels on this one now. Okay, that looks pretty good. And again, make sure to take your time on these so they're perfectly perfectly even. Alright, now what we're going to do here is like we did before. I'm just going over these steps because I don't want you guys to forget any. I kind of want to reiterate all of it. I want you guys to have the best experience and have the perfect wheatgrass. I don't want you to have any issues. I want it to grow fast. So we're just going to, again, mist down these seeds a little bit to make sure they get in the soil well. Just going to go over, I'm going over this part because you want to get this perfect. Get that soil nice and perfect. And get these seeds right where they need to be. Then we want to take our 2 layers of paper towels. Okay, so that's pretty much it for now. Now we just play the waiting game, and this one's going to be ready to start growing. It already has, but it's going to be ready to take those paper towels off. And as you can see, everything over here is going really well. This one right here is a fresh new flat, and it's coming up really well. You can see it's nice and thick. This one in the middle, that's that old one, and an old one. I don't know if you saw the juicing one video yet, but there's how to juice wheatgrass video. Make sure to watch that. Watch everything that's on the subscription. But this one, as you can see, it's actually growing back really well, and I've already cut that down and juiced that whole flat, and it's growing back. And I'm just going to use that and juice that and put that in the bathtub. You could drink it too if you wanted. I just use these older ones for the bathtub and these newer ones for juicing. And this one is also another fresh one. Looks like it's going really well. So everything's going good here. And we're just going to go ahead and play the waiting game and let these sprout up. Make sure to keep this paper towel moist on your next one. And this one we'll just discard, and I'll show you that in a minute here, when about 8 to 10 hours have passed. Alright, so go ahead and just hang tight, or just keep watching the video, I guess, and I'll hang tight. And that's it for now. Now, remember that since we just planted another one, that you're going to want to measure out again more seeds in a fresh container, or clean your other one out. Measure up some more seeds and start soaking more seeds for your next flat if you're looking to drink and utilize a lot of wheatgrass and bathe in wheatgrass, which me personally, I'm going to be doing for 2 months. So because again, I had a bone injury, and I'm really want to heal it without having to do a surgery and stuff, and see what we can do there. Okay, so anyway, go ahead and keep watching, and we're almost done here. Okay, so here we are about 8 to 10 hours later. And this, see how this kind of lifted up here? Angle's a little hard to see, but as you can see, this grass has started to grow really well. So what we're going to do is just put it with the rest of the grasses. Now, that's pretty much the whole sequence here. Okay, you take one of your containers, something like this, and you put your seeds in it. Right, 2 cups. Rinse them out, soak them for 6 to 8 hours. Let them dry out, keep them moist until they're sprouted. Plant them. Plant them in your soil in one of your trays. Put a paper towel over it until finally it's sprouted. And it looks like this, or it's grown, it looks like this. And once you do that, what you want to do is give it about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours of sunlight or lamp every day. Now, if you'll notice, I have 2 lights here. Get this light right here. Regular light. You can get those really cheap at Amazon. They do really well at growing wheatgrass. Another light I have is right here. One of those like incandescent lights. Has a different shades of light that provide certain nutrients for the plants. You're only going to need one or the other, but the reason why I have 2 of these, I'm growing different things as well. I don't know if you noticed, but we got a pea plant right there. That's actually a pea plant. And another one about to sprout next to it. This one here is a lettuce. That's going to be a lettuce. And that's a garlic. Okay, so I'm growing other things here, and pretty soon I want to have this whole thing covered. Also I have broccoli. I'm about to sprout some broccoli and spinach as well. And a tomato. That'll be where tomato goes. So this whole thing is going to be flush with vegetables. But this video, we're just focusing on the wheatgrass, and as you can see, things are going very well. These flats are very healthy, and they're growing without mold. Now, one little trick I do want to show you guys. I know these are going really well without mold, but I also wanted to show you guys another little trick that you can do. And what this is called sodium bicarbonate. In other words, baking soda. But what this is it's a pure sodium bicarbonate. And what you want to do is just put like a little, maybe half of a teaspoon in one of these spray bottles right here, and fill up this spray bottle. And if you do see mold on your grass, just lightly, gently spray it down a little bit. Okay, not too much though. But if you follow the instructions here, we're not going to have any mold. Now I also want you to notice in my apartment the way this is set up. Now, notice behind here, I have this fan. Okay. Now I've mentioned that in my apartment it has wires. We have wires in the walls here that cause it to be a little extra hot in here. Okay. And that caused a major problems with the mold, especially in the summer. So what I had to do, it's winter now, it's almost December, is if I want to grow wheatgrass successfully, I have to keep this on pretty much all the time, almost, for during the daytime at least. When it's hot. When it was summer, I had to keep the AC on. Now that it's winter, I can just turn this vent on here, and that's going to blow air. That blows air into all this, and that keeps the mold gone. That keeps it nice and circulating, because if it doesn't circulate, it gets moisture and misty, and it gets mold. Okay, so keep in mind kind of that. Maybe you need to put a fan in front of yours, something like that. But when it comes to wheatgrass, the main thing you want to do is control the temperature of your environment and keep it nice and cool, and you don't want it too humid. Now another thing I did as well, because of the humidity, I'll show you guys real quick. Sorry about that. Is you can see here on this side, I got what we call a dehumidifier, excuse me. And what this will do is it'll suck the humidity out of the air, the excess humidity out of the air and then drip it into that little water thing down there at the bottom of it. And you just empty that out when it's full. And you can actually put that back in your buckets or whatever. It's clean water. It's just humidity from the air. Okay. So that's one of the things that you can do as well. Get a dehumidifier. And that's pretty much how to keep the mold out of wheatgrass. So from beginning to end, that's how you grow the wheatgrass. From seeds, from sprouting the seeds to planting them, and finally to this wheatgrass growing and until it's nice and thick, like what we see here and ready to juice. And again, the main thing you want to think about is controlling the temperature. Don't let it get too hot and humid. 8 hours sunlight, 6 to 8 hours of light, so you can put these in front of a window if you want. You don't even have to use this. Wheatgrass does grow very easily. You can put it in front of a window. Okay, or you can buy one of these lights, or even one of these ones back here. It doesn't really matter. Wheatgrass grows very easily. It does not need that much light. But when growing it, just keep that in mind. 6 to 8 hours of light. And when you water it, it kind of depends on what you're doing. See, with me with the fan on, I kind of do this every other day maybe. But you want to keep an eye on it, and what you can do here is put your hand in here and kind of fill this soil, the mat here, a little flat at the bottom here, and the soil, and kind of fill that out. And when it starts to dry out, just add a little bit of more water. And again, keep air on it. Like I said, I use this fan here for mine, but you can also use one of these little fans, something like that. Just make sure to keep air circulating through your wheatgrass, or you're going to get the mold, and to control that temperature. Like I said, you could also use that sodium bicarbonate or regular baking soda. The sodium bicarbonate can get more pure, but baking soda will work. Just a little bit of water and baking soda and help spray that mold down. Okay, but like I said, keep air on it and don't get them too wet, and you should be okay. Alright you guys, so that's pretty much it. I know it's kind of a long video, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch it, and I really kind of I wanted to be thorough here to make sure we didn't miss anything, to make sure we're growing it properly, to make sure we get the most out of our yield and everything. I think we covered pretty much everything that there is almost to growing wheatgrass. Might have forgotten some, maybe not. You can put, there's other things that you can do, like put azomite in the soil and food nutritions to bring out a little more nutrition. But this is pretty much all of it from beginning to end on how to grow wheatgrass. All right, so go ahead and get started. Get your seeds sprouted and plant them. Put those paper towels on them, and then finally put them under the light. Once they're sprouted up or growing up, put them under the light, and they're going to grow. Actually, now that we're thinking about it, I'm just going to put this other one really quick. Okay, so notice I just took this out of the other one without the holes, and we're just going to toss it in here with all its family, with the rest of them. And we're good to go. And by the time this other one starts to grow up, and the next one that I've sprouted, okay, these are all going to be juiced. So remember, I'm using half a flat here a day, so this will be gone in a couple days. This one next here will be gone in a couple days. That's just for the bath, and by that time this one will be about to be grown up. Okay, so remember that to start one after the other once you're done with one. Okay, once it's to that point where you put the paper towels on it, or you've even planted it and put the paper towels on it, start another one so you can keep your wheatgrass consistent. Okay guys, so that's it for the video. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it, and go ahead and get your seeds sprouted, start growing your wheatgrass, and I wish you guys the best of success.